Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, folks. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and I've done enough front loads to kind of get by for a minute. Why you're seeing me come on here today is because apparently my entire state is freaking out. I mean, freaking out. I haven't seen this level of actual us locals freaking out since the ice storm back in 2007, where they had to call out the National Guard. God, that sucked. I was without power for 3 days. And cold food is not very comforting when you're in an ice storm and it is advised for you to not go outside your front door. Just saying. So, we are going to go ahead and do the video. I'm just going to do the trigger warnings. You guys know if you want to look more into the Stop the Shot campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, all the pertinent links are always there in the description box. When we talk about places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips or surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you do got young children present, please utilize the headphones. Also, we do use profanity and speak on some profoundly dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and watching, very much parental supervision is very much advised. All right, folks, we're going to that paragraph again because I don't know. With this particular document, the way they've worded things leaves it so if you're not really paying that close attention, there's some things in there that deserve discussion that you can miss. So, we're going to the paragraph where we left off last night instead of moving on to the next attempt of character assassination of the JRC's own students, no less. By the way, if you're a parent being told to consider the JRC, and you've read through some of this, could you all explain to me, I'm 5, how you could be possibly okay with sending your kids to a place that literally routinely engage in the character assassination of their own students in order to put forth their batshit insane propaganda? Because I don't know. The only kind of parent I've ever been is of kiddies, obviously. But I do have nephews and nieces that I love very dearly. My nephew is neurodivergent. I'm pretty sure my eldest brother might be too, who knows? But yeah, if I'm thinking my kid's having severe issues, right? And I'm stuck in Massachusetts where people do not know how to be a resource and help guide parents through the service system. If my school were to suggest this place to me, maybe it's just me, but I tend to study those types of things within an inch of its life. You know, I did it with Rivendell, and that's how out here, Rivendell, which is the big neurodivergent school that's out there towards the new ARC building, I believe near I-44. Yeah, no, it was I-44. I go over details. And to be honest, if they were doing the same crap that the JRC was, even if I was uninformed, and I saw that they were using students, even by just simply initials, committing character assassination, victim blaming, and tarring and feathering them, I'm going to tell you, I would not let my child step within 10 miles of the building. Because if they are willing to character assassinate and victim blame others as a way to argue that what they're doing is right and good, yeah, they are barely getting around HIPAA laws with this crap. Okay? It's pretty disgusting that you are using the issues of your own students, the same issues that you absolutely refuse to do anything constructive or will to help assist them with, as a way to bolster this batshit insane argument. If my mom would say, oh, hell no. Hell no. Sorry, it's just, there are other schools, as you guys know, that I've dug into, including Tobin World, which is ran by Dr. Israel's wife, believe it or not, that was taken down in 2018 by a concentrated effort of a multitude of advocates, ARC, Nova, and Easter Seals. Okay? It's not a good look. It's not a good look that you have no argument, no way to argue in any way that what you're doing is correct, and you have to resort to publicly tarring and feathering your students as an argument to keep your doors open. Just saying, you know? Just saying. But let me get back to the topic before we go too far off into left field today. Alright, so we went over the restraint chairs. We went over the fact that I think it's utterly ridiculous, and JRC are not the only ones to do this idea, and it comes from ABA. It is literally ABA, and it's all in an effort to get us to be more neurotypical like, by saying, but if you do well, we can reward you and help you do things like basketball or go out as a group. Nah, I don't think I will. I'm going to bring joy to my inner fourth grader, and I'm going to pick up a book off the bookshelf that is thicker than my waistline, and I'm going to spend all day, all 8 hours of the day, drinking green tea and reading that and thanking God that I'm not having to people that particular day. You know? The activities are forced. It may not be quite as noticeable if you're a person like me who was in a more kind of a general transition assisted living for kids with developmental disabilities place like I was, but for those places that are absolutely geared specifically towards people like me, like Burl Transitions, I'm not hating on them too much. There's a lot of things that they have taken large steps towards the sane side in, but I do gotta comment on this, because it's this idea, well, other kids your age and other people enjoy these activities. Surely, if we just get you introduced to these kinds of activities and make friends with the neurotypicals, it will be something you enjoy too. No. Parents, hear me on this. No. Alright? No. From the day we set a single foot inside a public school building, we are set aside and targeted every single day of our elementary, middle school, and high school lives. To be bullied, to be picked on, for rumors to be spread. You name it. All pranks, cruel little quips when they think the teacher's not watching. Yeah. It's not going to be a reward for me to force me into an activity that I have absolutely zero interest in. And a group of individuals that have essentially spent our school careers together tormenting me. Fact, that is the opinion of the majority of us autistic folks in particular. We got to stop with that. But it's normal, and see, that's your mistake. We're not normal. To be bluntly honest, the so-called normal people aren't even really normal. It's just this made up idea that everybody decided was what normal is based off of wide consensus. But otherwise, the activities so-called neurotypicals engage in that are supposed to be normal, if examined by themselves, seem utterly batshit insane. You've all heard me pontificate on this before. But to get back to it, stop using neurotypical outings, things that neurotypical teens, elementary school kids, what have you, outings in regards to award as a reward or as a chance for social interaction. It's exhausting, first of all, in a way that nobody else really is. The fact that most of us autistics, in particular, somehow from the time diagnosis starts and we get into the service system, that everything has to have the dual purpose of making us more socially acceptable and better with our language, as well as being a so-called reward. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. Remember, we're still kids too. We would like to go and do the things that we find fun and rewarding, what we would consider a reward. Right? Yeah. And it's done to us in a way that it's not really done with anybody else, at least to what I've noticed. Okay? So, yeah. Even for the more benign places like ARC and things like that, just stop. Ask us what activities we would be interested in, and stop trying to make every single second of our lives a learning moment. Okay? We like to blow off steam too. We also like to turn our brains off and relax once in a while. We don't really get to do that all that often because every single thing in our lives is somehow geared into a teachable moment. You don't do that with neurotypicals. For the love of God, these poor kids, and I speak from experience, are already having to go through way more crap than the neurotypical peers in their age range. Stop trying to make everything a teachable moment. It's exhausting. It's manipulative. And stop trying to pigeonhole and force us into activities by saying it's a reward when it's not an activity that we have any interest in. Just saying. So much for me not going off into left field, huh? But yeah, I wanted to bring that up again. Now, in particular, It's the last sentence that caught my attention for this afternoon. It's about how this kid, due to their behaviors, hadn't been allowed to visit their parents' home in years because the severity and dangerousness of his behaviors. They don't elaborate. They don't provide any context. They give you piecemeal information. They list the behaviors. They do not list it under which conditions and what's going on at the time that provokes those behaviors. What they will do is list them and then say, and with the GED device, they now have a fulfilling life. It's like dealing with the worst come on local news at midnight, horrible used car salesman pitch. That's what it reminds me of. Right? Like the person who has not sold a single car for 2 years and has only managed to maintain their used car salesman's jobs because their sister is married to the boss kind of sales pitch. Yeah. When you're just going to sit here and list, you know, guys know what I mean, right? Your life sucks. Everything's wrong. We're going to list all the not fun stuff that has to do in regards to being a functional adult. And then pivot directly to an asinine, annoying sales pitch, right? Only difference here is this is all the more horrifying because that's what it does sound like. We are going to list out all the things, all the scary behaviors, right? We're going to detail what those behaviors are and what they're doing, bruises, what have you, while leaving out pertinent information in regards to what's going on at the time, right? I gave you guys multiple examples, but I'm going to go to a simple one instead of pulling up more of old family trauma. The throw the desk into the concrete wall incident happened because I was the favorite target of everyone, and I do mean everyone, in my second grade classroom. The teacher was called out, and not too long after the teacher had left, all the kids started jeering me and sing-songing insults and just being just absolutely horrid little terrors. Yeah, my scary behavior was provoked. It was the straw that broke the camel's back, right? I didn't just, out of nowhere decide, you know what I want to do? I'm going to imitate an Olympic shot put champion and just heave this thing into a concrete wall, for funsies, right? It doesn't come out of nowhere. But they don't provide you that information because it would make it more difficult for them to be able to demonize us. And by demonizing us, also scare the poor parents into agreeing with whatever it is the JRC is wanting them to sign on to. Right? Yeah. You think anyone asked GA what was going on in that whole home situation that was kind of causing these behaviors? I'm going to tell you no, and then I'm going to explain to you why. I know damn good and well they didn't. because this is about demonizing the student, not engaging the student within a proper service system and treatment program to actually see real progress. It's a similar model to how Autism Speaks uses their fear-mongering to drive people to donate those additional billions of dollars every godforsaken April. Right? Yeah. I've had more than a few parents, even within my office, when I would ask those questions, yell about where my camera is to here in my face. How can they tell me they can't talk? Completely closing out that there are other forms of communication going on that they are completely ignoring and bypassing because they're not getting their preferred method of communication. Now, I don't blame parents for this fully. Okay? That is a subject that does need to be addressed and studied more, definitely. But we've got to come to the point where we realize the behavior is communication in and of itself. And every single detail of what's going on, where they are, what's going on in the environment, the people in the room, even the most insignificant, smallest details that seem like nothing are extremely pertinent when it comes to trying to figure out what that trigger is. You don't solve the problem by abusing behaviors out of us and turning us into your perfect functioning robots. You get to actually dealing with the issues and seeing real progress when you're willing to put in the work. Problem is, a lot of these folks aren't that way with the parents. You know? Part of the things that made me valuable to the state was they I am quote unquote neurotypical enough that the parents are able to communicate and relate to me, and autistic enough to be able to explain to the parents based off of my own life experiences what could possibly be going on. And even if I'm not 100% for sure, at least give them some pointers to some resources, offices, and experts in the area that will help better get them to an answer of what's provoking the behavior. Right? But he's hurt his parents and he's did all this. Yes. Remember, not only was I that kid, I was also abused horrifically by that kid. I am well aware, in a way and capacity that you probably can't really comprehend in regards to that danger. I have almost ended up dead multiple times in that type of situation. Okay? That doesn't change the point, though, does it? What's going on at the time, what the environment is like, any person, or heck, even due to sensory issues, a weird little speck of dust. Yes, it can be that random sometimes. It's important to get down to the actual issues. Sending your kids home for visits and they're not hurting anyone, yes, that's perfect, except when it's not. Because what ends up happening is when kids come out of horrible places like this because they've been successful and they're not having behaviors anymore. Well, now they're no longer under threat, which means they are safe enough to start letting all those things that they have been suppressing, some for at least a couple of years, to come out. It's always worse. It's always more damaging. And unfortunately, sometimes in those situations, people end up in hospitals. So, in actuality, no, JRC. It is not a good thing. Okay? Your device is forcing a kid to suppress their more dangerous behaviors. Suppressing behaviors is extremely dangerous because of the emotions behind them. And also, if you're suppressing them, you're not dealing with them. You have a delayed reaction. Okay? All right, we're going to close out for right now, folks. I've got some food to eat and double check all the water and, get out my hordes of toilet paper. Pray that it's not another 2007 ice storm. I am not a fan. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do get tend to get removed from time to time, so please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to don't forget to hit the comments. I appreciate your time, folks. As always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I gotta make sure everything is stocked up and that I don't have to order somebody else to go out and run and get something before this all hits around 11 p.m. midnight. Bye-bye, everyone.